Just going to check with Andrew to make sure that we're live, and then we will start here. How is everyone? Jen, how are you? Did you get tents yet? Have you sorted that out?
No, they're for sale. So if you know anybody who's looking for tents in Massachusetts or Connecticut, let me know.
Yeah.
One is sold, 2 to go.
That's really a bummer. I'm sorry.
Lesson learned. You know, it's a bummer. Definitely a bummer.
All right. Cool. We have a green light. Thank you, Andrew. If you're watching this, I appreciate that. My apologies first to everybody again for being late. It's trying to jump from meeting to meeting. I appreciate your patience. So, all right. So it is 7:09. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Hi, everybody. Right now, it looks like we have, obviously, me, Dave, Jen, Josh, Catherine, and Rick Rogers in attendance. I do not see Adam, Chris Romlin, Dan, or Deb. If any of them are here and not showing up, please just chime in right now. Guessing no. All right. First things first, meeting minutes from August 26th. Did those get circulated? And I'm just spacing out. I'm pretty sure you sent them.
I sent them earlier today.
Okay. Gotcha. You can pull them up. Have other folks had a chance to review them? By the way, Catherine, thank you for putting the stuff into the Secretary of State page, because it always notifies me when you do that. I'm like, hey, look at that. So pulling up the Google Doc right now. All right. Cool. Can I entertain a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion.
Okay, can I get a second? Jen makes a second. All right. All in favor, just raise your hand. Or Josh, just say okay. Anybody opposed? Yes, I got a thumbs up from Josh. Excellent. In this corner of the screen, he gave me a thumbs up. So we're good. Thank you for that, Catherine. This meeting's probably just mostly updates on a few things and heads up. Site survey first. Rick, if I can ask you just to kind of chime in if there's been any movement on that so far. Mr. Rogers.
Hi, Stu. I had a little trouble unmuting, but did you ask, and you chopped out a little bit, did you ask for an update from DPW?
I did. I was asking if there'd been any update on the site survey planning specifically.
Yes, I talked to the engineer who is, gonna also, give an estimate, but he's gonna give DPW sort of a scope of what he thinks that he would need to do based on input that I've received from you and Josh on what we're looking to accomplish. So he owes DPW that, and he feels that it's going to be under because I told him that whether it's a service or a project, it has to be either under the 7,500 or so or 14,000 something. He feels it's going to be under 6,000 anyways. So that would allow us not to put out an RFP, but simply contact, 3 vendors, 3 potential vendors, and say, here's the scope. What would your price be?
Okay. Do we have a timeline from him on what he's thinking for being able to get back to us?
Like most people, yes, the timeline is last week. He just hasn't delivered it yet, so I would expect it this week.
Okay. Yeah, because as you and I talked about, that's sort of a lot of this, what we're doing beyond this hinges on that. So, cool. Thank you very much. And just if you can let me know when he comes back, just keep me posted so I can plan accordingly.
Yes, as soon as we receive it, Stu, I will forward it to you and to Josh.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Just a really quick update on pickleball. So spoke with Neil Feely from JG Coffee, who's done a couple of other courts and places. And the stuff that I attached to this meeting was an email exchange I had with Neil and also some schematics he did. And essentially what we found out is that in order to do 6 pickleball courts and 2 tennis courts, we're gonna have to bump out one side of the existing tennis courts roughly 13 feet. So probably into the parking lot side. We have not set, I'm hoping to set up a walkthrough with him and Rick and a few other people from Tiverton Pickleballers next week to physically look at it. This was just what he provided us. I did talk to Chris Cotta, who sends his regrets for tonight, and said, if we needed to bump it out 13 feet, is there any issue? And he goes, no, not really. You got to propose it and go through the steps there. But essentially what Neil has said is that we can't save any of what's there for the court. It's going to have to be completely redone and resurfaced. And we're going to have to extend it if we want to get all of those spaces. That's where we're at right at the moment. Yeah, not surprising. End up being a little bit more than was expected, but we'll figure it out. And I do think it's important to have as many courts as had been promised and not just do pickleball. I think keeping 2 tennis courts is really going to be an important piece. So
Stu, I have a question.
fire away.
So 13 feet, you and I talked about this at that site visit last week. That's going to considerably cut into the parking lot for softball parking. I know Rick and I previously had a discussion, and I'm going to reignite that fire right now about tearing down that dilapidated garage that's got mold and holes in the roof. That might be something that we have to look at doing sooner rather than later. Because if we can make up parking in that area, that could definitely help. Plus, if the courts are going to get used more, that's going to cut into the parking as well.
Yep.
So
I think you make a really good point. I also think we've got to look at the general layout of other spaces that are nearby. And if there's additional stuff we can frame out as parking. I don't love the idea of people having to cross the street there, but I agree with you. I think the better we make this, the more parking is going to become at a premium. And I don't want to negatively impact any of the leagues in that process. So we'll have a better idea of exactly how much parking we're potentially losing. And Rick, I don't know what your thoughts are on Dave's comments.
Yes, there have, as David pointed out, there have been discussions about taking down that building, and we can propose to do so. We would have to get input from all the leagues and, of course, the town administrator and the town council on whether or not that would be viable. Although the bathrooms have not been used, that may be a consideration because it's possible they could be put into use if the water source was repaired and as far as being able to use it. I've never really gotten a clear answer on why the water is not used, other than it's been termed not acceptable. But I've never actually seen a test as to why. So if the building was proposed to be taken down, they may need answers to that, which is going to require quite a bit of legwork.
Okay, why don't I see if I can dig into a little bit the rationale why we're not using it from a town standpoint. I know, Dave, you and I can connect about that offline from a softball standpoint. I think you've been in there, I haven't. And we can also talk to Brent over on the soccer side and see what their thoughts are on it. So to check the boxes you've listed, Rick, we'll go through that. I think Dave's point is a really good one, that we're going to need the parking. And if we have a building we're not using, it probably has to go. The question is, what do we do to account for the resources that would potentially be there, like a bathroom? But we're not using it right now anyway, so it's not an add to the project.
And as David has pointed out, the building is not in good shape. And I believe the only, David, you can correct me, the only people who use it for storage right now is Little League, or does soccer use it?
Only Little League uses it, and we actually just secured a 40-foot trailer donation that we'll be able to put all of our equipment in. So that building, I don't think you saw the baseball, softball storage side of it other than the garage, but I think once you get a look inside, you'll change your mind.
So Rick, when we do the pickleball review, why don't you and I see if we can pop our heads into that building to take a look? And between now and the next meeting, let's come up with a resolution on this so we can plan to move forward.
Okay, but what do you mean, David, change my mind? I feel the building is not in good shape. So what did you mean, change my mind?
No, I mean, even with the potential use of bathrooms, it's just, I mean, it wouldn't be a good location anyway, because with the parking coming out, we're going to lose parking, but it's not even salvageable unless a completely new building is built, as far as bathrooms go.
Yeah, and I have, of course, been in the building, and it is, as you say, it's not in good shape. My point is simply the town, to my knowledge, does not use it as storage. The only question that would come up is other leagues using it, and the fact that it is a facility for bathrooms, although it's not in condition for people to use it as a bathroom. It's simply the fact that it exists, and there may be some people who don't want to get rid of it if it can be modified to be able to use as a bathroom. But certainly there's other locations on site that could be used for a bathroom if they wanted one with running water and a much smaller structure.
Yeah, I don't see any reason right now. And we're talking about the leagues wanting to use it. Dave represents one of those leagues. If they're not using it, the town's not using it for bathrooms, I don't see this as a major hurdle. I think your point about the demo time is one we got to consider, but let's just put it on the docket to have a resolution by the next meeting. It shouldn't be this hard to come up with it, because we're going to have a resolution by the next meeting for the pickleball space anyway. So it's all tied together. Sound good? All right. You guys all look so happy. I feel like your week matches mine right now. Jen, you I think may be winning for the best week so far, but you guys are still awesome. I just feel like I need to stop and remind everybody of that. So thank you. All right, I'm gonna keep moving forward on this. So pickleball, I'll have an update. I'll send an update between now and the next meeting, but we're moving forward with that. And we'll have more details shortly. I have a feeling we're gonna have to put that out to bid. I don't think we're gonna get around that one, but we'll have a better idea what we're asking for, so. Outdoor fitness area and playground. Josh, are you there? And do you want to chime in?
Yes, I am here. So right now we're just looking at making a couple of tweaks to the proposed layout to reflect the survey responses, and possibly adding poured in place surfacing to the areas within the fitness area that you would be, say, doing sit-ups or push-ups, or touching the ground. So that's the focus right now for the fitness area. The proposal currently did not include poured in place surfacing, and it was so this would be a change, including poured in place, but I think it probably makes the most sense, especially where you're touching or sitting on the ground for, say, sit-ups. But otherwise, that's still in the process, and I'm working with Compan's designer Tiffany to finalize that.
Any thoughts on how adding poured in place is going to impact the scope from a financial standpoint? And if you don't know, that's fine.
I am waiting for the revisions from them. So there obviously is an adjustment to the scope and to the budget. So we'll need to balance that out. But there may be ways to balance it between the fitness area and the playground area. So I still need to work that out with Tiffany. The hope is that we can make it balance between the poured in place and the engineered wood fiber.
Yeah, something that I took away from the guy from Jamestown when he was presenting is he said they did poured in place for their pathways, but he said in retrospect he wished he'd put it under some of the elements. I think he said the swing in particular. So just as you're having that conversation with them, it might be worth asking about on the playground side, having it under particular elements, not the whole thing, but if they have any recommendations on it. And I totally agree with you on the workout space. So, do you know when they're likely to have a first draft of not only the contract, but also the renderings for it?
So I think the contract will be once the design is finalized. So the design for both the fitness area and the playground. And obviously the rendering would be the same. So Tiffany, their design, one of sorry, tongue tied today. The designer that I'm working with at Compan, she's only, well, she'll be out on maternity leave shortly. So we're trying to get it finalized before, but you know, the likelihood is if it does extend, it shouldn't extend beyond, 4 weeks, I wouldn't think. It's just a matter of making sure that she has everything she needs from us in order to make the revisions, and then they can deliver the renderings and the modified scope and contract.
Okay, cool. So my question ties into my point on the general fundraising. So once we have the renderings done, we can plug that into a marketing toolkit and begin really pounding the pavement on things. I did mention to them, Jen, to account for where the pavers would be to be able to show you that element. And so as soon as I have it, we'll turn it over to this group. And then with a couple of action items for how we proceed, I have a feeling that the amount we're going to fundraise is probably going to be above what the grant requires to make it all come together based on some of the things we talked about. So I'm guessing about 60K in there, which I think is doable. If you want to get rid of the proceeds from selling your tents, Jen, just saying, sorry. Don't hate me.
No, those are a loss anyway. Sorry.
But I think we're just ready to flip the switch on it. And all I would offer on the fundraising side is that if you know of people that are potential donors, please make sure you add in their info to the list. There's some places where I know Josh has done a great job of connecting with somebody that can do cement. We're going to need fencing for around the pickleball and tennis court area. If there's anybody that we know of that might be able to donate fencing, that would be huge. So think about places where not necessarily cutting corners, but can reduce costs. That's the best way to put it. All right, cool. Under timelines, I just kind of listed those there. The only thing, and we talked about this when we did the walkthrough before, is demolition timing. And so, Rick, I didn't know if you had any additional conversations with your crew on setting up a timeline for tearing out the stuff that's there, or what other information you needed to establish that timeline.
Right now, I'm not sure exactly when we're going to be able to do it. I will sit down further with the acting foreman and ask him what his thoughts are on it, and also get a sort of an authorization to, as long as everybody's in the loop, to remove the items.
Okay. When do you want me to check back with you?
I would check back Monday.
Gotcha. All right. Good deal. Because I think between getting the site survey and getting the demo stuff done, those are two things we can move forward on while the comp and stuff's getting sorted out separately. Cool. All right. Other things on the timelines in here are all sort of dependent on, if we're looking at the contract, Josh, are you thinking 2 weeks?
I would say at a minimum 2 weeks. So I'd say between 2 and 4. I really need to just make sure that I have everything I need from Dave and Adam in regards to their concerns or comments for the play structure, and then we can finalize the play structure or playground area. So I'd err on the 4-week window just to be safe. My goal is 2 weeks, but the reality is I know things tend to take longer than we initially estimate.
Okay. All right. And then Rick, not to just keep coming back to you on it, but once we get the review for pickleball, the RFP has to go through DPW, correct?
I would say that's how they're gonna wanna manage it. So we would need to come up with the specs, and we hope that Coffee can help us with that. And also, we would wanna get his feedback when we meet with him next week, and just let me know when that will be, on things that I would like to know. Does he feel that the drainage would have to be, underground, or whether or not surface drainage would be sufficient in that area? I'm tending to think that we're gonna want some drainage around the perimeter, but I'd like his feedback on that. And also whether he feels that the sub base is adequate.
Okay. Gotcha. So in theory, if we have all that info back from him, say end of next week, in terms of looking at an RFP, is that something that's going to the town planner to draft up? Are you putting it together? Am I putting it together? What is the process of taking that info and putting it into a document that gets circulated?
I would suspect that it would come from you and the planner, but I don't know. Basically, it would have to come from somebody with a little bit of experience writing RFPs. DPW doesn't have anybody on staff for writing RFPs. But another question I would have, Stu, is I don't know the answer to this. Do we need permission as a group every time we request to do an RFP? Do we need town, and this is a good question for early on, from the town council? Even when DPW advertises, they have to get permission from the town council. When we spend X amount of money, over like $5,000, we have to get town council approval. What parameters were laid out for the renovation committee?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can find out very easily. And if we have to, we can get it on the town council docket. I think we've got enough time between now and their next meeting to craft it. And so from an action item standpoint, I'm taking away, I'm going to connect with the planner and ask her feedback on best pathways to do this. I have a feeling she's probably got a good read on how to do it. I've written these, but she's in a municipal setting probably better. And I will find out anecdotally if it has to go in front of the town council. And if we do, we'll figure out the timing to get it on their agenda for discussion or approval.
Right. And if we haven't done so yet, we'd want to touch base with the town administrator to find out what the guidelines are, because it would, I'm hoping that, based on grant money, et cetera, that we do not have to get permission every time. We have to keep everybody in the loop, but it would slow things down if we need to do that. I'm not complaining. What I'm saying is, even when we request to advertise for snow plows, to have somebody to plow snow for us, we need town council approval. And it's sometimes hard for different groups to bear that in mind. Now, maybe the renovation committee is not under that same type of strict guideline. I don't know.
I don't have an answer for you, but I can find out. So I will connect with you about what our requirements are. I'm sure there's something. I'm always in favor of governance where it's needed. I know that we have the approval for a set amount already in our budget, but I don't know what the oversight's like. So I will get an answer on that one.
Just something that we want to know to keep ourselves going down the right path.
Yep. Yeah, I can find out from Chris this week. That'll work out. Cool. So once we're able to get the RFP out the door, I believe it's 30 days it has to sit out there before it can be approved. I could be wrong on that. We'll take a look. And then, so I put targeted project completion on here. I will say that when we talked, and I love that these are being recorded, but I'll say it anyway. When we talked to the folks from Compan, they mentioned Memorial Day weekend. I think that's a little ambitious, but I don't think it's out of the realm of what we should be expecting to have this done by next summer. So once the contract is set, we'll have a set timeline. Hopefully between now and the next meeting, we can get a definitive time frame on that and go from there. So just so everybody knows what's been said so far. It's exciting though. I mean, my kids will stop annoying me about when they get to play on it. So. All right. Any other questions through general business? I've kind of been rolling through it and I realize I'm doing most of the talking. So any comments, questions, anything I've missed in there on this list? Okay. In new business, these are just notices for the next meeting. Officer slate, I believe every October we have to vote for officers. Right now, I'm chair, Josh is vice chair, Catherine is secretary, and Deb Palish, I believe, is treasurer, if I'm not mistaken. So if anybody is interested in taking over one of those roles, like chair, let me know. I'll probably pay you. So happy to switch out if anybody wants to. I did also include a proposed meeting calendar for 2021. And the only comment that I wanted to make on this is that we're not just the playground and DEM grant committee, we're the town farm renovation committee. And so some of you have been in the conversations we've had about what's after we finish this. And that's really the phase 2 piece. And essentially what we're looking at is there an opportunity to put more structure around the field? So potentially the upper fields would all be little league, softball, baseball, and the lower fields could potentially all be soccer. Again, it's discussion at this point. Nothing has been determined, but after we get through this, I think those are the kind of conversations we have to have. That is not what I asked all of you to sign up for. So I just wanted to express that I love working with you guys. I'd love to keep doing it, but my expectation is for this project to keep going, and I'm not holding anybody accountable if you go, I signed up for this and then I'm out. So full transparency on it, but I would love to keep everybody involved if there's a willingness. That's my 2 cents. Cool. It's totally Wednesday. I'm just watching all of you guys like midweek. Glaze over. All right, cool. Any general comments at this point? Nobody sent me anything from the public, so I'm opening it up to this group. Catherine.
I don't remember if it was at the last meeting or the meeting before. We had left open the possibility that we would present to the town again on what the playground is going to look like and perhaps solicit some input on that. I don't believe that we made any kind of final decision about whether we were going to do that or not, but I just wanted to bring it up if anyone has strong thoughts on that.
Jen, go ahead.
I think if we're trying to keep it in this timeline and get a rendering so we can start fundraising, I don't think we have much time to go back to the town, because then they're going to have to update their plan. And if the designer is almost ready to go on maternity leave, I don't think we should roll the dice anymore. Personally, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think we got good feedback from the survey. I think what Compan has presented to us is very reflective of what it seems the community wants. So I don't see a need to go back and kind of nickel and dime it and tinker with it.
I agree.
Agree.
Cool. All right. Any other comments, questions, general feedback? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Catherine makes the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Jen?
Second.
All right, awesome. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. I hope everybody gets a chance to get some sleep. I know I need it.